Hi, this is Phoenix, and I'm going to talk about my up and coming book, The Street Kid. I'm going to focus specifically on the character, the Snake Angel. Um, he's a very important character, if not um, uh, the most important character in The Street Kid, aside from Phoenix, who is the protagonist. Um, the Snake Angel is a very interesting character. Superficially, you could call him the foil for Phoenix, the foil character used in the traditional sense, which is the idea of um, a character that has like opposing traits and that acts to kind of oppose those opposing traits of the main character. Um, and so they're kind of an antagonist of sorts, but not like in terms of like a villain, just an antagonist in the sense of the traits that ground the main character. And so the Snake Angel is a really interesting character. He is one of Phoenix's imaginary friends. Um, Real fast, I'll describe the Snake Angel. He wears a green hood, a green hoodie, sweatshirt, and he's constantly flicking out his tongue. And he has beautiful snake eyes. I don't remember exactly how I described them, but I think I described them as pretty dark. Um, and and he's just an all around pretty mysterious character. There's a lot that happens, um, and I won't go into all of it, um, but I do want to analyze a little bit kind of the Snake Angel's role. And so, of course, The Street Kid is an autofiction, and so there's some autobiographical elements in it, so things that really happened. Um, but of course, there's also the story in the book. And so the best way to describe it is the Snake Angel in real life, in my life, was a kind of personality that worked through me at various times, um, and was even an imaginary friend if you want to go that far. And in the Street Kid, he's the Snake Angel is also an imaginary friend, but he's also Phoenix's best friend in many ways, and and so they talk a lot, and he's real, simultaneously real, even if he's imaginary, and that's what's really cool about it. Um, so there's a couple scenes I have in mind, and the important thing is just to figure out like how to talk about the Snake Angel's presence in any of these scenes or in any of the other scenes in which the Snake Angel's in. So of course, the Snake Angel is very primal. He exists with his primal instincts, and so that's illustrated and manifested by and represented by him constantly flicking out his tongue. But even more than that, you might be wondering, why is the Snake Angel a foil for Phoenix? Well, real fast, I want to go into the whole notion of the Chinese idea of the phoenix. Um, there's a um, there's a really interesting idea that the snake is constantly an enemy of the phoenix, and the phoenix is constantly an enemy of the snake angel, or of the snake, and this is very popular in Chinese lore. It's interesting because how it translates in my own book is this idea where the snake angel is constantly getting under the skin of Phoenix, and Phoenix is constantly bothering the snake angel, but mostly the snake angel bothering Phoenix. Phoenix is just trying to understand the snake angel, which is already enough, already hard enough, because the snake angel is very enigmatic. But the idea is that they're always fighting in various ways, but it's the way in which they fight that actually draws them closer, and that makes their relationship more intimate and meaningful. And so, as an example, there's a really important scene where the plot point in this book is where Phoenix essentially has to metaphorically sleep with the Snake Angel in order to piss off the bad guy, who is the antagonist, the real antagonist of the Street Kid, and of Phoenix. And essentially, there's a clash because Phoenix believes in modesty, he believes in clothing. He's a street kid, and so just having the clothes on his back is enough for him, and so he appreciates the sensual beauty of wearing clothes, the weight, the heaviness of the clothes. But the Snake Angel completely wants to strip Phoenix of that and strip him of his clothes, and that metaphor of the clothes, and kind of keep him light. Um, but the power of that is that the Snake Angel wants to do this to restore Phoenix's dignity. So by stripping Phoenix down to his core, so to speak, he's actually revealing who Phoenix is to try to give him, to kind of show him the beauty of himself. Now, it's interesting. You might be wondering how the Snake Angel relates to Christian theology, which is a valid question, and I will need to go into that a little bit. So, in this book, I explicitly state that God and the devil do not exist. They don't exist at all. The bad guy is not God, and the Snake Angel is not the devil. But the Snake Angel embodies some interesting traits of the Luciferian character and the Judeo-Christian tradition. And it's interesting because one of those traits is the Snake Angel's desire to get Phoenix to love himself. This is really important though because it's not a kind of narcissistic, egotistic, selfish love of oneself. It's Phoenix is so out of touch with himself and so out of touch with understanding himself and his reality that he doesn't appreciate himself. He hates himself. That's part of being a street kid and feeling like he's a throwaway. And so the Snake Angel wants to restore that. And so he does it in a very gentle way, which flies in the face of the way that the selfish way that you might expect the devil to try to corrupt you, just going off the Judeo-Christian tradition. And that's why he's called the Snake Angel, because he represents both the light and the dark. So he represents the light of the angel, but the darkness of the snake, the darkness of the serpent in the Garden of Eden, for instance. And I think that that's one thing that's really powerful about the Snake Angel's character. So you might be wondering how this relates to what I was describing before when Phoenix essentially has to metaphorically sleep with his friend, the Snake Angel, and how that works. And that's a valid question. It's essentially this clash between light and darkness, between innocence and a kind of corruption, between one's sexuality and one's primal instincts, as well as one's asceticism, as strict asceticism as would be in Phoenix's case. And so generally that's one of the things that leads to conflict between the Snake Angel and Phoenix, because Phoenix just wants to be the street kid. He wants to be innocent and humble, and the Snake Angel just wants to disrobe that and make Phoenix just be incredibly himself in a very raw and real way that Phoenix doesn't understand. And it's powerful because the scene, this very intimate scene that unfolds in this book, isn't supposed to be shallow. It's not supposed to be explicit. It's not supposed to be pornographic. The whole point of it is actually to be gentle and intimate and to show Phoenix's vulnerability. And it's interesting because that's why the two characters also clash, because the Snake Angel is constantly trying to make Phoenix realize his own vulnerability and make Phoenix even more vulnerable. And Phoenix, of course, naturally resists that. And so, yeah, so that's just something to keep in mind. So what does the Snake Angel mean to me? Well, I have this idea where even the most corrupted people, not saying that the Snake Angel is corrupted, I in fact see the Snake Angel as a very, very beautiful character in this book, a very good-hearted character. But the idea is that it's very easy to be corrupted and to lose sight of our beauty. But that's why we need people, whether imaginary friends or people in our life, to remind us of the kind of beauty that we have, and to show us that we're not corrupted, to show the good that is in us, and that is the Snake Angel's perspective. And that's what he tries to do for Phoenix, because he cares about Phoenix a lot. So just something to keep in mind. And so there's a lot of interactions between the Snake Angel and Phoenix. There's another scene where it's the scene where Phoenix and the Snake Angel first meet for real. Phoenix has known about the Snake Angel for a while, but they meet for real, and it's just a very kind of intimate and raw experience, and they totally understand each other, even though they completely baffle each other. And that's one of the complicated things about the relationship and the dynamics of Phoenix and the Snake Angel, is that the Snake Angel alienates Phoenix, and Phoenix alienates the Snake Angel, simply because they're such volatile creatures, they're such volatile characters. Again, to go back to the idea of Chinese lore, uh, of the Phoenix battling the snake, and how that's a really powerful symbol. But in this book, their relationship is a lot more gentle, and yet they also drive each other insane because they're just so different. And you could even go so far as to say that their differences are so different that um, the Snake Angel actually hurts Phoenix because of his attempts to make him vulnerable and more vulnerable, and the attempts to make Phoenix realize his beauty, which is very hard for Phoenix to understand. Hard to understand what the Snake Angel is getting at, and so that's indeed something to think about. Um, just kind of how like your best friend, the person that you care about the most, who leads you down amazing paths, can also be the person who causes harm, even if that's not what they mean. And so that's something to keep in mind. And so, what does all of this mean in terms of my the autobiographical side of things? Because of course this is an autofiction, so there's some truth to it. Um, well, the Snake Angel for me was imaginary. There were a lot of magical experiences. I imagine that my goal was to try to purify the Snake Angel's intentions as the Phoenix, to perhaps do that with my flame, being the Phoenix, and the street kid and all. Um, but um, the personality always came as a very gentle personality, but a very conflicted and confused personality, a very hurt personality who was willing to spit venom just to prove how innocent um, Phoenix or me was. And so he was kind of like my guardian angel in a sense. And that's again where the reference to the Judeo-Christian tradition comes in, because it's not far-fetched to imagine perhaps the devil as a kind of guardian angel. And in this, the Snake Angel is definitely Phoenix's guardian angel. And so the point is, when you extrapolate this into my life, so long as the Snake Angel existed, he doesn't exist anymore. He's essentially been eradicated by medication and treatment, and just the life of just trying to live a normal life, so that way you stay out of trouble. But that's who the Snake Angel was for me. This personality was a guardian for me, a guardian from this apathetic world, from this cruel world, from this cold world. And it was hard not to let this personality guide me and show me really, really remarkable things. So that's about all I have for now. The Snake Angel is a very complicated character, though, and he's very important in this book. And again, the Snake Angel, or the Street Kid's going to be out very soon. So keep a lookout. I hope you and I hope you enjoyed this talk, and I hope you look forward. I hope you have reason to look forward to the book. Again, this is Phoenix, and thank you.